My name is Violet, and this is my story. I became a victim of sex trafficking when my father started to exploit me at the age of 6 years old. My Theo was the first to molest me when I was younger than 6 years old because my father was in prison for 3.5 years. When my father started to let men do to me, it was nothing new by the time it happened, but I was able to understand more over time of how long it was. When my father was released from prison, I only knew I had a father. I didn't know who this man was or what kind of person he would be towards me. I clearly remember the day I first saw him, when he approached me, the time of day, the way we both reacted when we saw each other. I hid behind my grandma and pulled my brother right behind me. He was 3 years old at the time. From the very beginning, my father never showed interest in my brother. He ignored my brother every time we were near him. My father always focused on me, from the way I breathed to the clothes I had on me. Within a couple of months of my father being released, he started to drug deal to earn his money. With this, he would buy clothes for me and materials he desired. My brother and I would always pack a mini bag of clothes and other necessities for hygiene, or toys we wanted to bring from my mom's house for every visit we had to take to our dad's house. I slowly noticed my father would buy me very inappropriate clothing. Even for a 6-year-old, it was a crop top and mini skirts and other items. He would not want me to wear the clothes I brought from my mom's house unless I was barely getting to his house or leaving back to my mom's at the end of the visit. I couldn't see anything wrong with it. For being so young, I simply thought he was jealous that my mom buys me better clothes and that he couldn't afford for me and my other brother. Throughout the day, my brother and I would rarely leave the house or even the room we had shared. We had 2 small spots to sleep. My brother got a cot to sleep on with a thin blanket, and I had a worn-out twin-size bed with 1 pillow and a huge, thick blanket. With this blanket, the men would use to hide under with me while they would touch me inappropriately. This happened multiple times for 2.5 years at midnight or 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. My father would try to get me high beforehand at 11 p.m. or slightly earlier on most occasions. When he would do this, I had no clue what he was giving me, what it would do, and why he would do it. The older I got, the more I slowly connected the dots. As far as I know, my brother was never aware of what was going on. Although we shared the same room, my father was very smart about the timing and location he would allow things to happen. It would happen in the middle of the night, when everyone was deep asleep. I was moved from my room to the living room, the laundry room, or even my father's car, which he would change out frequently. There was never a time I didn't see my father smoking a cigar or marijuana and drinking alcohol. In the beginning, I would cry and freeze up while men were on me or telling me to do things. After the men left my room, my father would call me to the hallway or to his room while he was high or very drunk and talk to me about how much he loved me and cry a lot. And I needed to do these things to make him happy, and that it causes so much pain to do it that it had to be done. He would slap me hard on my back and my stomach, or he would refuse to feed me if I fought back the men that touched me. I was neglected and punished for the action I did that men didn't want, such as biting, crying too loud, and kicking. Soon I learned not to cry and freeze up like a lifeless person. I became the quietest girl people had met. I would get bullied at school for being too quiet and in trouble for ignoring everyone. I started to block out emotions and refused to say a word to anyone at any time, even my family. I started to get in trouble by my father for never talking or looking up at him when he spoke to me. At night, when no one was in my room, I would sneak to my kitchen and get food for my brother and myself. It was mostly candy or bread, the easy things to grab that was left out of the locked cabinets. During the day, my grandma wouldn't offer to feed me on the nights that I had messed up with the men, but she would only feed my brother. I didn't realize what was going on, or let myself think of anything until I was 14 years old. I only knew what he did to me didn't feel right, and it was scary. I was forced into therapy by my doctor when I started to show symptoms of severe depression, suicide, and started to self-harm myself. I didn't talk to my therapist until I was 15 years old, after a year in therapy. When I talked to this therapist of my experience, she started to ask me more questions. I realized on my own my father sex trafficked me in the house, over the years I was with him. I wanted to believe my father would see what pain he was causing me, or if I let these men do what they wanted, maybe he would treat me better by not hitting me or yelling at me less. I would think he says he loves me and it will stop. The frequent times no one would come in my room stopped when I was 12 years old. It only stopped because my grandpa found out and he started to watch every move my father made. A year had passed and I reported him for attempting to bribe my friend in return for sex. I invited my friend to spend the night this one time for mutual support. I told her I had bad dreams in the house and she didn't mind being there for me. She wanted to make it a fun sleepover, but early in the night my father got high and very drunk and then called her to talk in private. I stared at the door after he closed it, frozen, and my body wouldn't move. When she got back, she wrote on a paper my father asked her about how much she would like to make by having sex with him or other men. I reported to police the conversation my father attempted to bribe my friend immediately. My father is no longer in my life. He rarely tries to contact me since I was 13 years old. I never came out with what he was doing to me or never had the strength to report him. I blocked out so many encounters with the men he took to my room. My confidence in saying everything in the correct order with complete detail was going to be impossible. My grandma and my father were ashamed of me and I became a disgrace to them. I last saw them December 26, 2013. My father had tried to contact me last year when he was released from prison once again. But he only wanted to see me if I was alone, and it was night. Sorry to say the same things he told me when I was a child. He loves me. I'm his daughter. I owe him this much. I will forever be what he made me, and I won't be useful for anything else. My father is in prison again for other criminal charges, but he is a registered sex offender due to the report I made on him in the year 2013. With the neglect my father put me through, I mentally suffered from PTSD, severe anxiety, and severe depression. Eventually, I developed an eating disorder called anorexia for 5.5 years, and I dangerously became underweight. I developed a weak immune system, my teeth are sensitive and weak, and my gallbladder stopped functioning along with a very strict diet due to the thin stomach lining from lack of eating over the years and malnutrition. My mom's family knew what was going on. They saw the signs, but they couldn't connect what was happening. They only called CPS on my father multiple times, and CPS wouldn't find any of the signs of the drugs, of sex trafficking, or the abuse he caused me. There was a lot of times where I came up with bruises to my mom's house on my back, so bad from belts from his hand. There was handprints of the bruises in my back. I was only allowed to keep this green teddy bear that I fell in love with at my dad's house. He wouldn't let me have it, only when men were touching me. Right after, he would give it to me, and it would be comfort for me. I took it everywhere I went. There were signs everywhere of me being sex trafficked, but my family was not aware of the signs. They weren't educated. And for this reason, I would like to spread awareness of what was happening and to avoid these tragedies happening more often. It is very common for children to be sex trafficked in Texas. Texas is one of the top states to have human sex trafficking happen. Thank you for listening.